his first sit-down interview since becoming Montana's new congressman. Republican Matt Rosendale spoke openly about what's ahead. That includes the Keystone Pipeline, COVID relief, and his plans for his term in a Democratic-controlled House. NPN's Andrea Lutz sat down with Rosendale at the Billings Public Library as he settles in.
After weeks in Washington, D.C., Montana's lone congressman, Matt Rosendale, is back in Montana.
It is just an absolute honor to represent the people across this state.
He says he spent the last 3 days traveling eastern Montana, exploring the economic impact of the shutdown of the Keystone Pipeline after the Biden administration revoked the permit.
And we've already lost like 200 jobs immediately, and those jobs were really helping the local communities at a time when they needed it the most. When you start talking about counties that have populations of 1,500 to 3,000 people, and they're going to have a loss of revenue of $2.5 to $5 million a year, that is an enormous hit.
And here's another item keeping the Republican freshman representative busy: COVID relief. He says a current $1.9 trillion bill before Congress is riddled with other expenditures, saying the focus needs to be on getting money to businesses.
I think that we have to figure out who has actually suffered because of a job being shut down and make sure that they are made whole, is what I think. Okay, and there's a lot of people that not necessarily are going to be under those same circumstances. So let's not just take a big paintbrush and say everybody is going to be treated the exact same.
He's already been assigned to his committees and says his biggest focuses are immigration, healthcare, Veterans Affairs, and natural resources, saying he brings much experience already as Montana's former auditor.
And in order for our veterans to really receive the benefits that they've earned and that they certainly deserve, we have to have a smooth flow of information from the Department of Defense information, because that's what establishes what benefits they're supposed to get.
He's looking back at this year's major events: the election, insurrection, and inauguration.
I attended the inauguration. I believe in our institutions. I believe that they are solid and that we must support them. But to go through a 10-foot fence with razor wire on top of it to attend the inauguration, it's disturbing.
He says even though he called for the removal of fellow Republican and neighboring Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney from the chair of the House Republican Conference, he says moving forward, it's water under the bridge.
Yesterday's news was yesterday's news, and what I focus on every day is what do we need to do today, and who can help me accomplish that today. And if we have an issue that comes up that she and I are going to, it's going to be beneficial for the country, for our respective states to work together, I absolutely can sit down and work with her.
Rosendale also addressing his stance on election fraud, saying testimony of irregularities in some state races need to be addressed at now the state level.
It was never about President Trump. To me, it was never about President Trump. It was never about a campaign or a candidate. What it was about is election integrity. And when you have thousands, not a handful, thousands of sworn affidavits, you have evidence that was never allowed to be produced in courtrooms. So I have to take the information from the different testimony that was presented to us on the House floor. That is why on several of the states, I rejected those electors.
We spoke for roughly a half hour, and he left no issue off the table for discussion. But when it comes to Montana and serving the state, he left us with this.
I mean, we get one representative, and when I walk into a committee meeting or a caucus meeting, they know. Montana, the guy from Montana, he represents 144,000 square miles and about 1 million people. And they also know that I keep in touch with all of them, and it is an honor to represent the people across this state.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea. And you can watch Andrea's entire interview with Congressman Matt Rosendale online right now on ktvq.com.